Well, good morning. Welcome back to the Morning Report. My name is Willie Lawson. This is day 4 of our series, Everyday Patriots and 5 Ways to Support Conservative Voices. Today, we talk about the most powerful investment that you will ever make. It isn't stocks, it's not gold, it's not silver, it's your children, or the kids you teach, or the kids you coach, or the kids you mentor, the kids you influence. Because if we don't raise up the next generation to love truth and to fight for liberty, we lose everything. Now, we have to understand there's a difference between indoctrination versus education. Our public schools today are not neutral. They're not. They're not some equal arbiter of what's true and what's real. We need to stop pretending that they are. From kindergarten, which is amazing to think about, through college, many institutions have become indoctrination machines. There's gender confusion at every level. Think about here in the state of Florida, how there were people who fought the governor when he simply said, hey, listen, let's not talk about gender confusion to 8-year-olds. Let's let parents do that. And there was trouble. Imagine historical revisionism, like somehow the United States existed in 1619. It did not. Anti-Americanism, all the evils of the world have to do with American imperialism. And some of you even heard this in your own educations. You name it. So if you want our values to survive, we must actively teach them. And I'm afraid that starts at home. Long years ago, I did a podcast on Blog Talk Radio that says that the parents have abdicated their responsibilities to everything, to schools, to coaches, to everything, to television, to the internet. And I believe that's true. And if we want our values to survive, we must stop that and actively teach them. Not just hoping that somehow your kids get your example. No. And that starts at home. It's okay, folks. Read scripture at the dinner table. Take your kids to church. Read scripture at the dinner table. Talk about current events through a biblical and constitutional lens. What things are going on now? Talk, especially when we start talking about things like Israel. There is a biblical lens to speak about what's happening in the Middle East, what's happening to Israel, how Israel is behaving, why Bibi Netanyahu is never going to agree to a two-state solution. Things that are happening here in this nation, as far as immigration goes, as far as tariffs goes. There's a constitutional lens to speak about these things through, not just some personal thing about we like Trump or we don't like Trump. I think that the system has dumbed those arguments down to that, to where we start talking about personalities over principles. We're the backstop. We have to be where it stops. We have to be where the nonsense stops and where truth and liberty and justice start in your home. So teach your kids the Constitution. Teach them what it actually says. Folks, on the website, on the Fight Back Media website, you can download an audio book of me reading the Constitution. Download it. Download it. I think it's $1. Download it. You can get a pocket Constitution almost anywhere for free. So you can actually, when people start talking about the Constitution and what it says, you can actually look. When people say stuff like, the right of privacy is guaranteed in the Constitution. No, it's not. It isn't. It's not in there. When they say that there is a separation of church and state and that's in the Constitution, no, it's not. The First Amendment basically tells government, especially at the federal level, you can't stop the establishment of religion. It basically says there can't be a state church, but it's freedom of religion, not freedom from religion. So there is no such thing as separation of church and state. It doesn't exist. And people treat it like it exists, like it's a damn tooth fairy. Like a tooth fairy really exists. She does not. Talk about these things. Instill moral clarity. Tell your kids what's right and what's wrong. Not like, well, it just depends on the situation. It does not. Now, sometimes you will have to do what's right. And you should always do what's right. But you will do what's wrong sometimes. Explain why you did that. Because we're failed human beings and you did the wrong thing. Apologize for it and hope to do better. Which leads to the next point. It is up to us to set the standard. Kids need examples more than lectures. You want your daughter to reject the culture's trash? Show her a mother who walks in dignity and strength. You want your son to be bold and responsible? Show him a father who lives with honor. And if you're not a parent, you're still an influencer. Nieces, nephews, church youth, local schools. You are needed. Be the adult they can look to when the world goes insane. Like a lot of times we don't really know. We don't really pay attention. But kids are watching. They're listening to what you're saying. So let's say you're a parent and you're going somewhere to pick your kid up from a camp, especially now, a camp. What are the things that you talk to the camp counselors about? How do you address them? How do you address your kids when you pick them up? Other kids are watching. And eventually they'll come back and tell your kids, they may be adults. Hey man, your dad was so cool when he used to come pick you up. He was always so nice. He was always so pleasant. He was, all these things. They're watching you. God, he was always so glad to see you. It must have been so cool. They're always watching. Let's just say you're just going. I'm just minding my business. I just went to church. How do you behave? What are the kind of things you say? Do you open the door for people? Do you smile? Do you say good morning? Do you offer to get them things when they need them? Do you serve? What do you do? Because the kids are watching. They are looking at you. More so than just what you say. Although what you say is important, but more so than this what you say, who are you? Can you prove it by your actions? All those things are very, very important. We're all influencers of children that are ours and children that aren't ours. I know that's a lot of responsibility. I understand that. But that is our lot in life. And it is very, very important that we understand that and we live up to the standard. There's going to be a fight. It's going to be a struggle. One of the most important things that we can do is equip our children for the fight. Don't just send them out there without any armor, without any weapons. And this is kind of a subject that is tough for people because it's tough for adults. Teach apologetics. Well, it's not just what you believe, but why, because they will be challenged. Unlike any generation that's come before, much more so than we. Your children are going to be challenged. So it's not just important that they're able to say what they believe, but to be able to explain why. Train them in logic. Teach them how to spot fallacies and propaganda. Don't shy away from really hard subjects like abortion, marriage, socialism. Talk about these things at home first, because if you don't talk about them at home first and give your kids a good foundation on why they believe what they believe. And I think it's more than that. I think it's like, hey, you know what we believe here in this house? This is what we believe. And this is why we believe it. That's incredibly important. And encourage them to be bold. Not obnoxious, but bold. If they get asked, say so. So being a light is really not the goal. And it's tough, especially if you have middle school kids. If you have them in sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, especially eighth grade, what they want more than anything is to be liked by their peers. It's a condition they have. And they usually grow out of it, but it's very tough in the meantime, which is why we have to be their backstop. Because they get out there and these really hard, and they have really hard days. Well, they have to defend a lot of stuff they don't understand. It's our job so they understand it. So truth is the goal. Being able to say what's true. Our kids are not just the future, they're the front line. They're the ones that are out there on the front line every day. So we need to equip them to speak. We need to equip them to stand. We must equip them to push back. We must equip them to win. We have to remember the left isn't waiting to talk to your kids. They're already in their phones, in their schools, in their cartoons, in their TikToks, in their Instagram feeds. But here's the good news. One home, one mentor, one conversation can change the course of a generation. Just one house. You know, a long time ago, when I was in college, was one afternoon, my roommate and I, who are still great friends, were having a conversation, and the conversation came up about racism. And he said, he asked me, well, how do you think that we get past racism, we solve it? And I said, Ted, one house at a time, one household at a time. Because we like to think that there's this program and that this answer that we can get on the internet. We could teach a class in school. One household at a time, starting with your house. Starting with your house. Starting with your house. One household at a time. If you're a mentor, one mentor at a time. Starting with you or you or you. One coach at a time. One teacher at a time. having one conversation. Maybe that one conversation is only to one kid, can change the course of an entire generation. You know, a lot of you who follow me know that I teach woodwind instruments privately for a living, if you call it a living, but it's great when my students do well musically. It's great, but that's not the goal. The goal is having my students, when they leave me finally, after I've had them 6, 7, or 8 years, that they end up being great people, that they end up being truth seekers, that my young men end up being good. My young men, my boys end up being good men. That my girls end up being virtuous women. And when I meet them again, when they're adults, and they often tell me something that you told me, Mr. Willing. You probably now go. You probably don't even remember. And most time anymore, I don't. But but anything positive that I can pour into them when I have them, I have a captive audience and they can't move. They have to listen to what I say because their parents are paying me to talk to them. It's the best. So I know and I believe it's one conversation to sometimes one student being that one example, the teacher or a mentor, parent. It could change the entire generation. So take action now. Don't wait. Please stop waiting for other people to do it. Please stop abdicating your responsibility in this. You can do a whole bunch of stuff. You can start a family worldview night. You can volunteer at your church youth group. You can get your teen a book by a conservative author. You can introduce them to this podcast. You can introduce them to people like C.L. Bryant, K. Carl Lewis. You can Thomas Sowell. You can introduce them to people like that. Yes. While the schools introducing them to Barack Obama or Jasmine Crockett or who knows who else. You could be introducing them to Walter E. Williams. Yes, and we should. One of the best things, and I'm gonna let you go here in a minute. One of the best things that came out of the early 2000s and my involvement in the conservative movement was that my son got to see and went with me to see, and it got introduced to a lot of really great people that I found out who I was dealing with. People like K. Carl Smith, who introduced us all to the Frederick Douglass Republican movement. Uh, People like Shirley Huzar, Urban Game Changers, C.L. Bryant, the Content of Character Tour, on and on. Francis Rice, the head of the National Black Republican Association, founding member. Yes, it was important. And that he saw that his dad, I ran for county commissioner as a Republican in the 70-30 Democrat district, not once, but twice, because I ain't got good sense, but I did it anyway. And these are conversations that we still have to this day. So you can do it. You can. And you have to. You have to push back on what they get when they're out there every day. Like one more time, we have to be their backstop. We have to catch all the crap and then send them back out there equipped. Talk to them, really talking to them about faith. Talk to them about freedom and truth. All right, tomorrow on day 5, we wrap this up with a call to build strong communities that won't bow. My name, of course, is Willie Lawson. This is the Morning Report. Just like always, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sake, y'all take care of yourself. We will see you when we see you. Bye bye now.